What is your favorite type of Roblox game? And I'm not talking about a genre like survival or horror. I'm talking about more specific things like doors-like, battlegrounds, or even verb a noun. Well, I think I found one of the most underrated types of Roblox games, and word on the street is they're calling it Delverlike. And in this video, I'm gonna be playing and reviewing 4 of these games. And you might be wondering what these games even are and why I consider this genre so underrated. But to answer that, we must start with the first game. Minus Elevation is the Delverlike and serves as the basis for most of the games we will be discussing in this video. The goal is simple. You descend with an elevator and each floor is a random layout. You must do a certain amount of objectives on the floor, all while different entities roam around it. The objectives in this game are in the form of simple buttons. You just have to push buttons. At the end of each floor, you get to select some sort of buff that permanently changes your run, similar to a roguelike. That's it. That's the whole gameplay loop for most of the games on this list, and while it may not truly resonate with some people, I can definitely say this game kinda slaps. You know what I mean? There are always new enemies to look out for with different mechanics and ways to avoid them, and the subtle and gradual increase of difficulty as you go on makes the progression feel very rewarding, even if most enemies can be avoided by just turning a corner. Also, if you die, it's game over. This game really shows its age. Despite being made in 2021, Minus Elevation looks and feels like something you'd play in the prime 2017 era of Roblox. And keep in mind, this is supposedly a remaster of another game made by the same people called Minus Descendants, or the Descendants, and that game is honestly even worse, and I'm not having this debate. Either way, this truly is a prime example of a sleeper build Roblox game. I'm obviously not gonna bore you with too many details about this game, as it is the first of its kind and all the other games basically improve upon this concept in every single way. However, I should mention this as it'll come up again in the future: references. Most of these games don't take themselves too seriously because they present blatant references to other media. And this is more of a nitpick than a downside, because if you don't get the references, then you're fine. But when you have a full bullet hell boss fight with music from the Terraria Calamity mod, and most monsters you encounter make this noise, and some items in the game kinda remind me of something I've seen before, I think it's safe to say the people who made this really like Terraria. Almost too much. But that is totally subjective. On the topic of items though, despite the game fundamentally functioning as a roguelike, there are some permanent buffs you can have that make runs easier or different. And there's even a black market that opens every weekend with more wacky items. This won't be the last time you see any of these mechanics, but I still think it's crazy how this weird, fun little game is basically the pioneer of a genre full of goated games, except for one. I totally recommend it if you've got some time to kill. As much as I've criticized it so far, Minus Elevation is truly a spectacle of innovation on the platform, with an original idea that is the sole reason this video even exists, and the sole reason some cool games exist. However, we're gonna be moving along to the next one, and now this is where the fun begins. But before we do that, I would like to quickly announce my Discord server. Feel free to join it if you want to interact with other members of my community and myself included. Link is in the description. Let's move on. Dandy's frickin' world. Now, I know, despite me calling Delverlikes an underrated / underappreciated genre, this is the only Delverlike game to, you know, have the popularity it does. A few years ago, if you were to admit you played this game, you would be beheaded live on camera, but now Dandy's world has reached a level of social acceptance, and I think that's pretty neat. I mean, look at all this fan art. In short, Dandy's world is another Delverlike game, similar to the aforementioned Minus Elevation, but it looks like this. If anything, you can barely tell this shit is Roblox. It's actually impressive how well they managed to make the art style work, and kudos to the devs for managing to make it look so nice and cute. I really am a fan of this game, even if it's most likely made to appeal to children and not legal adults in European terms, but I do have to specify that there are some differences between this and Minus Elevation. For starters, the objectives you must complete in this game are now machines, and instead of just pressing E on them, you sit and wait, and occasionally perform a skill check. In between floors, you get to choose a card that buffs your run in some way. That's nothing new. But every other floor, you can pay a visit to Dandy's shop, where you can just buy some items that might help you out in your run. Okay, that's all fine and dandy. See what I did there, Dandy? But the real love for Dandy's World comes with its characters and lore. And quite frankly, I do not care at all about that, but I do care about the characters from a gameplay perspective. You see, what Dandy's World does differently in comparison to other Delver-likes is that it makes you pick a character. You don't just play as a raw default Roblox guy. Each character has their own stats, advantages and disadvantages, and most importantly, abilities. But they barely make any difference. The characters are mainly split into healers / buffers, distractors, and extractors, which kind of makes each character from a specific category feel samey. Their abilities might be a little different, but they all have kind of the same goal. There are also items in the game, but they give such small benefits like increasing run speed by 7.5%. I think one of the biggest problems about Dandy's World is that while it does look really nice visually, as a game, it falls flat. 99% of monsters just work the exact same way. They spot you, you loop them around an obstacle for a few seconds, they lose track of you. In fact, a lot of factors point to this game being really boring. But despite that, I have the most amount of playtime on this game out of all of them on this list, and that is for a very simple reason. The grind. And this should be a lesson to all you Roblox game developers out there. Bad gameplay can be masked with a good sense of progression. It's the reason why most of the games that are popular nowadays are popular. Sure, I don't remember much of the 40 or so hours I spent playing this game, but I do remember grinding every day during the Christmas event to unlock Bobette as a new player, and also getting Astro quickly after. But after that, I just kind of dropped it. I got everything I wanted. There was nothing else to do. I've seen everything, faced all of the monsters, played it with my friends, so all I can really say is this. Dandy's World is a good-ish game. Most of the praise comes from the way it looks. As a mascot horror game, it obviously isn't that scary, mostly tense. And as a game, it's just lacking sauce right now. I suppose this can be excused because of the big alpha in brackets in the title, but it's one of the most successful Roblox games right now. The devs better get to work. It's the most popular Delver-like not because it's the best gameplay-wise, but because it has a charming array of characters and incentivizes grinding for them. It's a good Roblox game, all things considered though. And speaking of good content on Roblox, you should totally consider subscribing. I put a lot of effort into this video, and I would really appreciate your support. But now, let's see what happens when you make a not so good game. I don't even know where to start with Into the Abyss, and I don't think it does either. I'm supposed to be on my positivity arc, but I'll make one exception. The description of this game says it's not a true Delver-like, and that is true. It has a lot of new and different mechanics that make it its own thing, but I still wanted to include it because this game annoys me, and I played it all the way through, and I really need to talk about it. So, Into the Abyss has you going with an elevator as per usual, and every floor is fully randomly generated, and you just gotta retrieve the artifact from every floor and try to run back to the elevator while the floor collapses around you. Obviously, some monsters also try to stop you, but if it's that simple, then where did it go wrong? Well, starting off, I said it once and I'll say it again. References. The main tutorial guy is a weird Spamton cat creature, but instead of pink and yellow, he's orange and purple. Wow, that's pretty original, guys. The main clock icon guy is basically just a ripoff of Pizza Face from Pizza Tower. Wow, that's pretty original, guys. And you're supposed to navigate these Lethal Company-esque facilities. Wow, that's pretty original, guys. Just for the record, Lethal Company and Pizza Tower is a nightmare combination, and this game tried mixing them, but it resulted in, whatever this game is. On the Lethal Company side of things, it fails to mimic one of the many things Lethal Company actually does well, the room generation. Whereas in Lethal Company, there are a lot of unique room types, and it's generally fun to explore, and getting lost feels more like the player's fault. In Into the Abyss, it genuinely feels like exploring a maze blindfolded. No unique rooms, no elevation in them, just straight hallways that look the same everywhere, which makes getting lost feel more frustrating than scary. Well, we're dead.
This game sucks so much, bro.
It's bad when one of the most OP items in the entire game, in my opinion, is a spray can to help mark where you've been. You shouldn't be forced to use this, but if you don't use it, you're just fucked. You're also able to find scrap and sell it for currency to buy upgrades, but you can also use the scrap to craft other things, most of which can just be bought by selling the scrap. I just don't get why this feature even exists because I never used it even after completing the game. Each floor type has different types of scrap, so if you want to craft something, you'll likely have to backtrack to a previous floor, and I think that's very demanding just for one specific item. On the pizza tower side of things, well, it has movement. You can literally outrun any monster, rendering most of them completely harmless. Not that it matters, because when they see you, their pathfinding starts glitching out and they just do this. Also, they stole the pizza tower grade system, and I don't get why it's even there in the first place. I don't get how it works either. You can get all the scrap on the floor and still get a low rank, so I think it's just based on how fast you complete a floor. So, which is it, game? Do you want me to go fast or explore? You just can't mix the two. It's either one or the other. Now, let's talk about tension. Delverlikes are in a weird gray area, where they're not necessarily horror games. They have spooky monsters, but the games are not intrinsically spooky. They are tense. You don't want to die to lose your progress, and so the further you go, the higher your heart rate. Into the Abyss says no to all of that in two ways. Firstly, you can revive. So dying isn't as punishing because you can revive an unlimited number of times with the revive machine. Secondly, music. I wasn't going to talk about this, but it gets to a point. Whenever you pick up an artifact, it plays a random chase song or whatever to kind of hype you up as you try to make your way back to the elevator. And some of these songs have like full lyrics, music video visualizers and shit. Like, you're just doing too much, bro. You're doing too much. I'm really liking what's happening on my screen right now. The music in general just kills any sort of atmosphere this game could have. Sure, you can disable it in the settings, but either way, the music turns this game from an interesting concept to singing Spelunking. Oh my god, the theme sounds like Spelunking, but it's different, guys. Whoa! I'm getting chased by a monster, and my ears are being blessed with breakcore. This is amazing. No hate towards anyone who plays this game. Enjoy whatever you want. I'm not here to criticize the people who play this game, okay? A lot of effort has been put into it. It just kind of puts a lot of concepts and ideas that don't necessarily synergize together in one whole package. By all means, though, I totally recommend checking it out and giving it a try. Because while it may not be my cup of tea, it may be yours. But let's move on to the final game, which I would say is the best one on the list. Depth Spelunking is the GOAT! It is literally a remaster of Minus Elevation, but with better entity variety, better pacing, better visuals, better gameplay. It's all just better, bro. It's so much better. Out of all the Delverlikes on the list, this has the most genuinely enjoyable gameplay. I have slightly less hours on Depth Spelunking than I do on Dandy's World, but I got to 450 and pretty good. Now, the third time's the charm. References! Depth Spelunking has the worst case of this. In this game, you're able to equip the D6 from the Binding of Isaac, a poker chip that makes Balacho sounds, and Spamton's glasses, all while doing an Among Us task as you're trying to avoid the warden from Minecraft as music from FNAF Ultimate Custom Night plays in the background. This game is fucking insane, and you might be wondering what makes it so great, and to that, I have a simple answer. Depth Spelunking is actually fun to play. Instead of pushing buttons or doing boring machines, you actually have various puzzles you can do. Yes, most of them are one-to-one Among Us tasks, but it's the thought that counts. And yes, this game loves Spamton maybe a little too much, but it makes up for that by having cool fucking monsters and items. Some of these monsters can't just be avoided by turning a corner or looping them around an obstacle. You actually have to prioritize stealth more than anything in this game in order to survive, which definitely helps add some depth to the game. See what I did there? Depth. And the items also feel like they actually contribute to something. Most of the items are really powerful, but the thing is, they come with a downside. I know, revolutionary stuff. You want to be so fast you can outrun some enemies by simply walking? Well, you can do that, but at the cost of other stats like health. But that's what makes it interesting! Because it rips off minus elevation, depth spelunking also has a black market which can only be accessed if you reach floor 30. Now, locking pretty good items behind a condition which requires you to play the game for quite a bit isn't that bad, but it's the fact that the floors themselves vary so drastically in how long they take. You could be spending 2 minutes on one floor and then 10 minutes on the next, and slowly but surely it adds up. Then again, it's the same for any other Delver-like. I would say that what definitely drags depth spelunking down is the fact that it doesn't take itself seriously. It even says the game is a joke in the description, but I don't see it that way. There's genuine effort put into this Roblox game, but the creator decided to also just throw in every piece of media they've ever consumed in it in a not so subtle way. Depth spelunking is one of the best Delver-like games out there, hands down. But I would also say it's an extremely good standalone Roblox game. And for the amount of players it usually gets, that doesn't really reflect how good it actually is. So, I guess you could say it's underrated. You like that buzzword, right? It's an underrated Roblox game. Subscribe. So, in conclusion, the Delver-like genre is one with massive untapped potential. The roguelike mechanics, the general slight horror aspects, they all form a very nice, cohesive package and a very enjoyable experience. I really want to see more games that innovate with this idea. And yes, I might have been harsh on some of them, but I still genuinely recommend checking each game out. So, yeah. The moral of the story, don't make characters based off of Spamton from Deltarune because I will skin you alive. I want to see people making Tenna instead because he's the superior one. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to support me further, feel free to become a channel member. It's only a few dollars per month and it comes with a few exclusive benefits. I would really appreciate your support.